I'll say three things and shut up about PG. The first, I think, is probably what many people have spoken about, how PG was a revolutionary par excellence. Because sometimes we have these terms that we throw at each other, comrades, revolutionaries, etc. Sometimes they don't have meaning. Sometimes they're just words we use to distinguish ourselves from the rest. PG's revolutionary credentials stem from an absolute, complete commitment to the people, to the South African people. I met him many times and I've spoken to him many times. One thing that strikes you in dealing with PG, life was about advancing the lot of the South African people. It was about how to take South Africa out of poverty, how to take it in a different trajectory, and how to deepen the work that the African National Congress in general, but also government specifically, was doing to improve the lot of our people. Now, when we say that, he also, in the course of that, collided with many of his comrades. If I can tell you one thing, the most difficult thing for any activist, it is when you stand against your comrades. It is when you have to confront the ills and wrongs that your own comrades are doing. And many of us falter in that task because many of us look away and not confront the challenge of correcting the wrongs of our own. And PG taught us one thing, that at moments when principle matters, we have to stand. You have to stand against your very own. And many people really, I can tell you, fail in that test. They will always look on the other side or accept what is not supposed to be accepted, simply because it is their comrade. Up until his death, PG was so focused on trying to deal with issues of corruption, to deal with issues of misdirection of the African National Congress and the country. He was still focused on ensuring that the country is brought back to the central path of dealing with all the political, social, and economic morass that the country was going through. My last point is PG was a mobilizer, a strong mobilizer, basically. Mobilization sometimes is easy to talk about because if you think about it, the first stance as a member of the ANC would be you're mobilizing the branch. There was a time when things were difficult in this country. There was a time that it was very clear and visible to anyone that the credibility and integrity of the ANC was completely undermined. We had rigorous discussions at that point, and many of the comrades who were part of these discussions are sitting here, Momo and many of them, I won't call them, were part of that conversation. What do you do? And we took a very hard decision at that time, again led by PG, to say, let's mobilize society. And the question was, how do you mobilize society? And what constitutes society? I tell you now, within no time, PG was in the forefront, going out of ANC structures, going out of the normal alliance structures to mobilize society against state capture, to mobilize society on a new agenda for strengthening and deepening democracy in this country. I can tell you now, with no fear of contradiction, that if PG didn't do that, the Guptas will still be in power. Oh, sorry, JZ will be still in power. But that's the kind of commitment that he had. He understood that the ANC is an agent for change. it is an agent for change. It is not an end in itself. The minute you look at the liberation vehicles as an end in itself, you must also know that your revolutionary credentials have come to an end. It is an important agent because if correctly organized, correctly focused, it could be the center point for remobilizing us around democracy, strengthening democracy, around non-racialism, around all of those things we believe in. But it is an agent. Agents fail sometimes, and agents succeed sometimes. But the principles don't fail. The principles are consistent, that our support to our organization must be based on principle, not based on the fact that this is our historic home, our forefathers and mothers belong to this, we grew up in this. We should be guided by principles. We should be guided by a belief for a better future for South Africans. And if our organizations don't do that as agents for change, we've got to do something to strengthen them, but we also have to do something to protect society from our own ills and our own cruelty. I end by saying that to the family of PG, and I know that if somebody says, I'm a daughter of Pravin Gordhan, I'm wife of Pravin Gordhan, people think, oh, that it must be nice for you. The reality is that most of the families of our leaders go through the most difficult time. Cruelty that is supposed to be directed at our leaders gets directed to their family. I always maintain that liberation movements generally have a humane agenda. But sometimes in executing that agenda, they are the most inhumane towards each other, the individuals towards each other. PG suffered. He suffered personally. We witnessed it. His family suffered. He was demonized by many, demonized to a point where even racial slurs were thrown at him. There was a time when others even thought it wise to attack him because they happened to think he is Indian. And if you talk to PG, those who know him, he was deeply non-racial. The Indian question in his mind was probably secondary, if not third issue. His first and foremost focus in life was that he is a human being dipped in a struggle to free the human beings from oppression and exploitation. And I think that if there's any gift we can give to PG, it is to reignite a strong South African spirit that fights against ethnicism, that fights against racism, that builds a society based on democracy and an egalitarian society. I thank you.